So this is part 2 of my ideal Elder Scrolls video essay. And in part 1, it was just the preamble. I just generally gave you an overview of what I was going to do. But now, we're going to dive into the setup, i.e., what is the general idea behind my ideal Elder Scrolls game, and how I would basically put everything together. So without much ado, we'll get into that in this video, and we'll also talk about the overall kind of motivational structure of the game in part 2, and that'll cover like the A quest, the B quest, and the C quest. So without much ado, let's get into it after the cut. So every Elder Scrolls game has some type of setup, which basically denotes what you're going to be doing. You know, Oblivion, you're a prisoner who has been tasked with finding the last surviving heir of Uriel Septim VII, and basically that's the A plot. The A plot is finding the last surviving heir of the Septim dynasty and giving them the dragon amulet. Okay, that's your A plot. Your B plot is finding out the people behind the assassination of Uriel Septim VII. The C plot is stopping the Oblivion gates from opening, because it's all interconnected. So all of these plots and quests are tied in together. And then you have your various side quests and shit like that. You know, Skyrim had something similar. Your A plot was, you know, dragons coming back. The B plot was the Civil War. The C plot was, no, it didn't. It only had the A and the B plot. You didn't really have a C plot in Skyrim. But, you know, Morrowind had an ABC plot. Daggerfall had an A and a B plot, and the first game had an A and a B plot. But the rest of them, you know, we've had a 3-tiered main plot system. So, where to go from there? So I envision a game that has the ABC plot direction, and here's how I do it. So, I mean, people like the power fantasy of Elder Scrolls, but the problem with Skyrim is that the power fantasy is given too easily. Like, literally, they're like, well, you can become the Dragonborn, and there's no explanation as to why your character is the Dragonborn. Now, canonically, you're supposed to be a Nord who comes from Skyrim and all that shit, but you can play as, like, 9 other races on top of the Nord, so 10, and that just doesn't make sense, you know? You know, I personally think that the explanation for your character having the capacity for amazing abilities should instead have a logical explanation within game. So here's my idea. The setup, your A plot of the setup of the game would be this. You know, if you follow the lore of Elder Scrolls, there are Aedra and Daedra. And there are more Aedra than just the 8 divines, the 9 divines that are mentioned. There's more than that. It's just the 9 divines are the ones who gave up their power, or at least 8 of them gave up the essence of what they were in order to essentially help create Mundus through Lorkhan's plan. Okay, and then you have the Daedra. The Daedra are essentially the Daedra are essentially Aedra who didn't escape with Magnus during Lorkhan's creation of Mundus. They're ones who didn't escape and had some of their power taken away, but they weren't like at the level of, say, the 8 divines. So because of that, there's tons of Aedra and there's tons of Daedra who just, they're around, they exist, and they're old. So we know for a fact, following the lore of Elder Scrolls with Jiggalag and Lorcan, that there are Aedra who act like the opposite. So the thing about the Aedra is that the Aedra that are active, basically the Aedra want things to stay the same, and yet they themselves are the embodiment of change. So Akatosh, the Eternal Dragon, or Alduin, they basically want things to stay static, and yet by their very nature, Akatosh is the embodiment of time. Time makes things change. Beauty changes. All these things change over time. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Daedra want things to change, but by their very nature, they're stuck in a static position. So, Sheogorath wants madness, and yet, madness is a very chaotic situation, and yet, Sheogorath can never become unmad. He'll never change from his current state of existence. There'll always be a Daedric Prince of Madness. Now, this cycle is broken because of the Champion of Kvatch in Oblivion, where you basically change Sheogorath's trajectory, and Sheogorath is no more, and Jiggalag comes out. But there has to be a Prince of Madness, so the hero of Kvatch, the Champion of Kvatch, the hero of Kvatch becomes the new Sheogorath in the Shivering Isle DLC. Basically, the thing to remember about the game is this. About this setup is this. They're Aedra and Daedra beyond just the ones that you see. Molag Bal, Malakath, Azura, Meridia, who canonically Meridia was once an Aedra, but her obsession with destroying the undead caused her to become a Daedra. So it's kind of like, there's different levels to this shit, for lack of a better term. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So my setup is this. What if there were an Aedra and a Daedra who decided to do an experiment to create a new life form that combines some of the aspects of an Aedra and a Daedra? Something heretofore never seen before. An experiment. And they do. However, it doesn't live up to their expectations, so they abandon their experiment. They cast it onto the world of Mundus. And that's where your character comes in. Your character creation would be where you land when you're cast out. So if you land in Elsewhere, you become a Khajiit. If you land near Cyrodiil, you become an Imperial. If you land in Skyrim, you become a Nord. If you land in Sentinel, you become a Redguard. Because those are the people who find you. And before they find you, the magical essence of what you are copies what you see. So you become a kid, a child form of a Redguard, right? And then basically you answer various questions as the game goes along, and the opening goes along, and that's basically how you determine, what your skills are, all that shit. So essentially the A plot of the game is you trying to discover why, for lack of a better word, your parents abandoned you. First of all, what you are, why you were abandoned, and what exactly are you? Because you have aspects of both an Aedra and a Daedra, and yet you have aspects of both, but you're neither. So what does this mean? This means that your character, like an Aedra or a Daedra, cannot really die. Basically, you can be defeated, your body disappears, but you're reborn on Mundus. Now, there is a penalty to this. You do take an experience penalty where you have to do side quests or defeat enemies to a certain point in order to gain experience, etc., blah, blah, blah. I think that would be a fair point, but it could actually be a storytelling thing where, you know, it's like, hey, you know, you've been executed, but there's a reason to it. There's a method to it. You know, it has storytelling potential. Like, someone has to sacrifice themselves to this monster in order to save this village, and you volunteered to do it because even if you die, you'll just come back. So you sacrifice to this monster, the village is saved for a time until you can get strong enough to come back and take on that monster and kill it. But the only penalty you have is, you know, a minus 30% experience gain for a week. You know, some shit like that. So that's your A plot. The A plot of the game would be you trying to discover who and what you are. But this could lend itself to a lot of cool things. I would like it, and this would also explain why your character can use different types of magic and can master different types of swords, weapons, and shit like that. Because you aren't like, even though you appear in the form of whatever race it is, you're not really of that particular thing. I mean, you're not human. You're not Altmer. You're not whatever. You're not of that species, even though you look like it. And I think that would be a really cool little thing. That's your A plot. Your B plot would be, I mean, I'm of two minds of this. You know, at this point, I'm kind of tired of the whole Civil War thing. But, I mean, if you play Skyrim, you pretty much know that the Altmer Dominion is going to have, there's going to be another civil war between, there's going to be another war between the Altmer Dominion and the Empire, and the Empire is way weaker than it was at the start of this war. So, I mean, if this game took place after that event, after Skyrim, which it probably will, like, you know, not immediately, but a decent amount of time after Skyrim, then there would be a war going on between the Imperials and the Altmeri Dominion. Another war, if you will. So the choice is yours, you know. But basically, my idea behind all of this is either go with that or have the game take place on Akavir. But, I mean, they probably fucked that up, so I retract that statement. Akavir would not be a good idea for a setup for this. So, basically, you know, you're dealing with the second civil war between the third civil war between the Altmeri Dominion and the Empire. And, like, this time, the Empire is in shambles because their emperor has been assassinated, and there's no one to really take the reins and hold them together. But the Altmeri Dominion isn't doing that well either because, you know, they can't replace their troops as readily as the Empire can. So it's a battle to the death, okay, basically. So that's your B plot. Your C plot is your character essentially over time discovering that there are a group of shadow players who are essentially playing both sides against each other for nefarious purposes. And initially you have no idea why this is happening. You don't have a clue as to what is actually going on. You just know that it's going on. And your character is essentially coming to the realization that there's more going on than what anyone can see, and how they're going to deal with that. And of course, you have your requisite guilds and factional quests and shit like that. But that's the general setup of the game. So after this, I will go more in depth about the side quests and, I mean, the main quest, how I'd like to see the A, B, and C quest play out after the cut. So the A plot, like I said, is you discovering yourself and what your powers are and what you truly are. This would also include you gaining the ability to essentially get your own plane of oblivion. So essentially, you can create your own like little city inside of Oblivion, where you can have cool shit. You can build a city, a town, or whatever in Oblivion. You can get people to come there. So this is where you have your city building type thing going on for people who like that type of shit. But it would make sense because you have you have people that basically begin to believe in you, and that gives you access to abilities, to power your abilities that you normally would not be able to do through conventional means. Cool shit like that. So basically, unlike other Elder Scrolls games where you just level up and you get new abilities like that, some abilities you from leveling up you would actually you would actually become more powerful with. So for example, if you're fighting with a sword that is using that sword as a strength-based skill, like you have to be very strong to pick it up, like a two-handed sword or some shit like that, your strength is going to go up by using that sword. Not automatically unless your strength is already kind of low, but over time your strength will go up. Right? And if your strength goes up enough, if you gain enough experience, you'll basically be able to use better weapons as time goes on, and you'll level up. But if you want to gain a special ability with that sword, the way I should see that happening is you either being taught it or you learning it through kind of like a special enlightenment or some shit like that. I don't like the idea of perks just being used for that type of thing, but that's for part 3 where I go over gameplay systems. So basically, your special innate abilities, like in Skyrim, the big thing was, oh well, you can shout like dragons can. Okay, whatever. In this game, you basically can use like godlike abilities, but they're tied to you basically having your plane of oblivion with people there who begin to believe in what you're capable of doing. So there you go. The B plot I would like to see play out as your character is basically using their skills and abilities to help out in this war between the Altmere Dominion and the Empire. Now, the choice is yours, okay? Like how you pull this off is entirely up to you. I envision in my head, this is just my head, this is where the factional side quests will come in, because as you essentially do these factional side quests, you can actually get these factions to help out different sides. So if you're in the Thieves Guild, right, and you do enough side quests with the Thieves Guild to where you get a high reputation, you're not going to become the guild master because that's kind of stupid, but you definitely have a reputation where you can make suggestions to people and they'll listen. You can, let's say you're on the side of the Empire, you can get the Thieves Guild to raid supply trains for the Altmere Dominion, which in turn weakens their war standing, making it so that the Empire has a better chance of winning. If you're high up in the Fighters Guild, you can get them to join. You can get Fighters Guild members who are not officially on Fighters Guild time to say, well, I'm taking my year-long sabbatical and join, if not in official capacity, train Imperial soldiers to be more dangerous, to be able to fight better, skills and abilities, shit like that. So essentially speaking, you can, the factions have a more practical purpose than just, hey, you get access to better this or whatever that. I think that would be a really neat option, and make factions have a more practical purpose. So next, the C the C thing is, the C quest would basically be you discovering over time that there's this shadowy group of cabal, if you will, that's orchestrating this war between the Altmere Dominion and the Empire, and they want to see as many people on both sides die as humanly possible until they swoop in with their own shit. And so therein lies your, and as the game goes along, you discover more about that plot. And you discover that there's connections between all three, and that would be how I would do it. So, the conclusion after the cut. So here's my conclusion. I would like to see the Elder Scrolls actually do some interesting things and not the same shit they've been doing. I would like to see a plausible explanation for why your character has these abilities and not just unexplained bullshit. And I would like to see the main quest, factional side quest, and the real quest of what's actually going on between all these things to be interconnected. So, in order to reach the channel, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com, or you can @ me on Twitter at mrredfox91. There's a link to the Discord. Peace and good day.